Hi there, Rick here. Want to talk? It was a really interesting story on the MSN News Money app this morning. Here's okay, a person. Okay, his name is Todd Meadows. Okay, um, he was appearing on World's Deadliest Catch. Okay, I watched it. Quite a few episodes. Okay, I thought it was quite interesting, but I also felt that this work that they do, wow, is extremely dangerous. So how he died was, okay, it was an accident. Okay, he got washed overboard. Okay, went into the water. Okay, and I think the autopsy said that he died from drowning and hypothermia. Okay. Um, you have to remember if you fall into the water, like I seen how rough the water is, and if you're not rescued probably within about 15-20 minutes, I would say that your chances of surviving is very slim. Okay, because the hypothermia will get you. Okay, but even okay, if you're, because the waves, they look like what is it, um they look like about as high as 10 feet high, maybe even higher. Okay, and you have to remember this is up in Alaska. The water is extremely cold. Okay. um this catch, wow. It's amazing to see all these king crabs. Okay, coming out of the traps. Okay, it's quite amazing. And yeah, I can see why, king crabs are so expensive at the supermarket. Okay? It's um it's very dangerous work. Yeah. If you're not careful, you go overboard. Um if they do not find you probably within 20 minutes, yeah, even 20 minutes, I would say that um your chance of surviving is very slim. Okay? Because even the clothes they're wearing, okay? Um, I don't think it was meant to float on the water. Um, so you're scrambling just to try to keep your head above water, okay, if you go into the water. Um, maybe if you had a life jacket on or something, right? Your chance would be a lot better. But um a nice thing about it too, okay, when one of the crab fishermen go overboard, okay, all the other crab fishermen, even competitors of yours, they help search for the guy that went over. Okay, even if they're in the middle of pulling up their catch or something, they go, no, we have to look for this guy. Okay, I thought um that was very noble of the other crab fishermen who are in competition with you. Okay. Um, like I say, I thought it was very noble of them to do something like that because look at the amount of money that they're losing while not be able to to pull their load in, right? I wouldn't be surprised it's as much as maybe in the thousands of dollars. Okay, every uh, maybe every hour of searching for that person. Okay, if not in the tens of thousands of dollars, searching for that missing crab fisherman. Okay, even uh, even my industry, okay, the vinyl window industry. I thought that, yeah, it was um, it was dangerous work. Okay, I nearly lost my life twice. Okay, while doing the work. Okay, so I just thought it was very funny how some of these companies were only willing to pay the glazers minimum wage. Okay. um even if you had a few years experience. Okay, because I won't uh you know, I myself and even a lot of other glazers, yeah, um, especially the ones that have got a few years experience, they just will not go out and do the work for minimum wage. Like, I mean, I've heard of, what was it? When I was talking to Sam, Sam was trying to convince this glazer to go out to install this glass. And I think he offered him $40, and the glazer just started laughing at him. And then I was talking to him, I was saying, Sam, um, how big is the glass? What city is it in? You have to remember, if it's a two-person job, what you're going to give $40 to a glazer that's going to bring out his worker and you know uh, hire him to help him put this glass in. So I felt that Sam, he didn't even know the industry. Okay. And I'm not surprised he went bankrupt. He's no longer in business just because he didn't know what was going on. He doesn't know the industry, right? So just from watching the episodes, watching how these guys work, right? um, I thought it was pretty amazing work that they were doing. Okay, extremely dangerous, but um, pretty amazing. The work that they were doing. Okay. It is because I saw the boat. Okay, how much it was rocking. It was as the boat was um, going up and down the waves. It looked like it was moving at least 20 feet up, 20 feet down, right? Um, just extremely dangerous. And uh, I would say that you would need to be a younger man to do this sort of work. Okay. Once when you get older, I would say that it would probably be too hard or too hazardous for your body. Um, you have to remember you're not standing on level ground, right? And when you're so close to the edge of the boat, the boat's being hammered by huge waves, right? Um, it's very easy to lose your balance and just go overboard. Okay, and that's what's happened to Todd Meadows here, right? He went overboard, and well, he lost his life, right? Just very sad, um, for this young man. Um, it looks like he had a passion to do this sort of work too. Okay, and somebody saw um, kind of like the opportunity in it to make money from it. Start up a episodes, world's deadliest catch, right? And yeah, it was you know deadly deadly catch because there's been quite a number of these crab fishermen in Alaska that have lost their life. Yeah, so it's dangerous work. Okay. You have to pay these guys well too, otherwise they just will not do the work, or they uh, or start laughing at you if you offer them so little money to do the work. Because it's not like um, the boss is not making money; he's making probably lots of money, right? And not to to pay your workers so little, right? They would just be talking behind your back, right? You know, um, just saying how cheap you are, right? Because I've been in vinyl window companies where yeah, the workers were talking about the boss, just saying how cheap the boss was, right? Yet they still worked for him. Okay, because they also knew too. They also knew that the boss knew too that if you weren't working for him, okay, you just wouldn't be working at all. Okay. So the boss would, take advantage of that, bad situation to take advantage of his workers. Okay. Because I've seen, I've been to companies where, yeah, um, I could tell the company was making money. Okay. Very good money too. When the boss is driving three cars and they're all worth about $80,000 each, he's likely making money. Okay. And, I don't like how, was it, some of the workers, try to, just try, treat the other workers too. Okay. And I have seen other workers standing up for those workers just because, yeah, they didn't like it. Okay. Because even myself, I refuse to, uh, help, some of the contractors, on their job site just because, yeah, I just didn't like the way he was, uh, treating me, or treating the workers in particular, right? So, there's politics that are going on, behind the scenes that a lot of customers just do not see. Okay. Um, that's another reason why, okay, this glazer that I know for quite a few years, I like sitting down, having coffee with him just because, um, he knows the industry, and, we usually sit down, have coffee, talk about the industry. Okay. Um, because he knows what's going on. Okay. Um, he knows the problems that I'm having. Okay. In the industry, he kind of understands it a bit, right? Um, whereas somebody else, okay, they may be working a different industry or a different trade, right? They just, maybe they might have a similar situation, but, I can just relate to the people better that have worked in the industry. Okay, because I have a worker right now, a new worker. He's worked in the industry, and, he's had some hardships in the industry as well too, some problems, and, I can kind of relate to it. Okay, just because, I understand the industry. Okay.